back. You're watching the Maha-Battle here on Headlines Today, and the results are really coming in on the trends. And I want to emphasize trends, early trends are coming thick and fast. What is clear is that this is a big day for the BJP because as of now, they're heading towards a majority in both Maharashtra and Haryana. At the moment, our advisor to the India Today group, Shekhar Gupta, one of the country's most formidable journalists, joins us. Shekhar, first news about your home state. Since I've been talking about my home state, let me give you what is happening in Haryana. And it's quite a story, Shekhar, because if you look at those numbers, it suggests that the BJP could be heading for a majority in Haryana. Is this, in a sense, therefore, a complete shift in all the understandings of traditional Haryana politics, of Jat factor, of the caste divide? Are we seeing a new Haryana emerging if these results hold?
I think most importantly, it's a rejection of the dynastic politics in Haryana. Haryana is an odd state which is not feudal, but which is very dynastic. In fact, I keep saying that you name any politician in Haryana, and I will tell you something about his parents or grandparents, if not also his grandparents. So this is a new factor in Haryana. The last time BJP did well in Haryana on its own symbol was in 1967, and it got all of 13 seats, 1-3. So Haryana is a state where BJP was seen as a party of Punjabis, not of mainstream Haryana. But I think this mainstreaming is now total. It's also an indication of how urban Haryana has become over time. Haryana, mind you, is the richest state in the country.
Are you saying that effectively the more urbanized a state becomes, the more a state is probably proximate to Delhi, possibly getting wealthier, the better the chances for a Narendra Modi kind of factor to operate in a state?
No, I think the wealthier a state becomes, the more aspirational it becomes. So less the importance of identity and alliance and then loyalties of caste and loyalties to families whittled down.
Right.
And that is what has happened in Haryana. Chotala may get seats, as we are seeing. He's getting seats, so maybe he's getting a bunch of the Jat vote. But remember, Jats are only about 22% in Haryana. Haryana, that's why I keep on saying it's a dynastic state, but a non-feudal state.
Okay. The other little news point for you, Seshadri Chari, Devendra Fadnavis, who many believe could be a potential chief ministerial candidate, you can confirm that to us. If he is the front runner for chief minister, is leading at the moment from his seat. But go ahead. He became mayor at the age of 26 and at the age of 44 could become the youngest chief minister that Maharashtra has had since Sharad Pawar at the age of 39.
Shows you that BJP has done a much better job of finding talent everywhere in the country.
That's right.
Congress has not done.
This is what we did in Goa also. It paid off very well with a person like Manohar Parrikar out from the IIT Bombay and then suddenly coming out onto the political bandwagon.
So you're saying a generational change. We are seeing a generational change also in the BJP. And Devendra Fadnavis is the front runner. Can I say that? Because earlier, just before the break, I told you what's happening in Vidarbha, where the BJP is sweeping. And this is where Pankaja Munde, who has openly staked her claim to become a chief minister, is an OBC. Devendra Fadnavis is a Brahmin. And I know, Seshadri Chari, there will be many who will object to caste, but the fact is in Maharashtra, for traditionally it was seen very difficult for a Brahmin to become chief minister. See, has that also changed?
No, Manohar Joshi was the chief minister.
Once, that's it, exception, that's it. Not happened except for that.
This is exactly what I'm saying. This trend is changing. I remember Sharad Pawar once campaigning in Maharashtra saying that Maharashtra Madhe Peshwai yevu denar nahi. This was his sentence in Marathi. Means we will not allow Peshwai in Maharashtra. Obviously meaning Peshwai represents
the old order, the old Brahmin order.
The old Brahmin order. After the Maratha Empire, it was the Peshwai which continued for more than 50 years. And that exactly meaning that we will not allow the BJP, and that time it was Jansangh and then BJP to come to power.
Okay, so
the BJP was at that time represented.
Effectively, the Peshwai and the years of Nana Fadnavis are now being replaced by Devendra Fadnavis.
No, that is what
it will be a tectonic change.
Maharashtra has come out of this. This is exactly
you believe Maharashtra has come out of Peshwai.
And BJP winning in Maharashtra very clearly puts a stamp on the change that the BJP has also effected in its own cadre and voter base.
Okay, I know Manisha Priyam, you wanted to have a point on Pankaja Munde, who I've been stressing on because it's an interesting factor. At one level, the accusation will be dynasty politics, Gopinath Munde's daughter being projected. At another level, woman, OBC leader to the extent that she does belong to the Banjara community like her father did. Do you believe that states are now looking beyond caste, as Shekhar is suggesting, as states become more and more aspirational, caste matters less? I don't care who my chief minister is, whether he's Brahmin, Maratha or OBC, as long as he or she delivers.
I think a difference between Maharashtra and Haryana of the BJP strategy, you can see BJP unleashed what I would say, quote unquote, the animal spirits, let a Devendra Fadnavis out, let a Pankaja Munde out. So all the differences of caste and identities used, all their bloc leaders, young leaders with their differences out onto the fore, fight and win every little battle in Maharashtra. In Haryana, would tend to agree with Shekhar that greater urbanization has tended to somewhat a homogenization of the aspirational ladder towards the twin elements of marketing of the Narendra Modi strategy, jobs and inflation. In Maharashtra, however, a far more variegated battle that's been using history, that's been using differences, and the animal spirits have been unleashed, and it'll be a fight to the finish for the chief ministerial table. And I can see...
Okay, so you believe there'll still be a fight for the chief minister's chair, but I just want to say as the numbers are coming, the BJP has crossed in terms of leads, and they're coming very quickly. So Haryana is counting very quickly, already the halfway mark of 45. So we could expect a possible BJP majority government in Haryana at the moment. But Mr. Crasto of the NCP, what we are seeing at the moment is the decimation of your party. As I said, even in your heartland of Western Maharashtra, there are senior leaders of yours like Jayant Patil, among others, who at the moment are trailing. And that is terrible news for the NCP. Would you concede defeat already now?
Not yet, not yet. It ain't over till it's over. You know, like in cricket, it's till the last ball is bowled, you know, the match isn't over, and you've seen that in the past. But from the last time we spoke, and you know, like everybody on the panel seems to say that we are decimated and it's all over for us. But you know, I've said it earlier on your show that it's too early to speak. But if you see, I mean, we've picked up now, and it shows around leading in 12 seats from 0 and decimation, showing 12. So let's wait, and you know, whatever the
straws, Mr. Castro. You're clutching at straws, which you are entitled to. You know, the figure that I'm interested in is the BJP at the moment on its own in Maharashtra is 70. Yeah. I'm adding all the others, and the MNS has taken its first lead. That is coming to 57. The real battle is Modi versus the rest. So it's 70 playing 57 at the moment in Maharashtra, which is the way the picture of Maharashtra is changing at the moment. But it's interesting, Shekhar, just as in Haryana, traditional stereotypes are breaking in Maharashtra. For the longest time when we grew up, we were told sugar cooperative area, Congress or a Congress affiliated party will win. Now we are seeing in Western Maharashtra, it's the Shiv Sena and the BJP who are dominating. The Swabhimani Shetkari Sena is also getting seats. Are we seeing the last citadel, in a sense, of the Congress breaking? The sugar cooperatives were, in a sense, the last citadel. Western Maharashtra was the last citadel of the Congress.
Well, I think I would extend the same logic, and I would say that identity politics within the majority community, within the Hindus, is now greatly threatened, which means caste politics, identity politics. I don't think it's yet extended to UP and Bihar, where again urbanization is not so strong and quality of life has not risen so much. But in the rest of the country, this has changed. There are divisions now, but those divisions are more on majority and minority lines. So it's not as if Muslims are going to start voting for the BJP, but Muslims in a way have been left alone as a vote bank. So those who depended on the combination of Muslims and certain castes among the Hindus are now suffering greatly.
You know, the reason I'm asking you this, Shekhar, is if you remember before the election, the Congress in Maharashtra announced reservations for Marathas. It was a contentious issue. Many believe, why did the Marathas need reservation? Now, Western Maharashtra is the Maratha heartland. Now, if you start losing that, it appears that people don't want these reservations.
Well, not just that. Look at Haryana, Rajasthan, Western UP. Demand and promise for Jat reservations. Now, Jats are not the upper caste. That's why I keep on saying Haryana is not feudal, but Jats are not an OBC. And they may demand.
They want to be an OBC.
Well,
they want to be. You see, who gets? Well, I'll tell you a story.
I disagree. Yeah. I mean, I think some political leaders want to offer this as something to them, but these results show you Jats don't particularly want to be an OBC. Jats are a dominant caste. Jats own Haryana, Jats own Western UP, the richest parts of agricultural India. Similarly, Marathas in Maharashtra are very powerful. So I don't think they feel that they are deprived of power.
And they want private sector jobs.
The idea,
Money, let me get you on this. As an old style
keep a hold on political power. You know, political power and economic power have gone together in both Maharashtra and Haryana to a very large extent. Jats own land, and if you see the economic changes that has taking place in Faridabad, Haryana, Gurgaon, it is the Jats who have got everything in stake.
I just want to tell, just to take that dynastical point forward, both Bhupinder Singh Hooda, Chief Minister of Haryana, who started his own dynasty of sorts, and Abhay Singh Chautala of the Chautala clan, Devilal clan, are both trailing at the moment. So if Mr. Hooda starts trailing in Rohtak, then that clearly is terrible news for the Congress early. But Mani, just a quick point on this reservation argument. Do you believe the time has come for politicians to look beyond reservation, look beyond identity? You need a new type of politics.
I think if politicians want to use the reservation card, they shouldn't be using it during or at the eve of an election. They have to prove their credentials well and long before. But in any case, I think this question of OBC reservations, saying that there is no creamy layer, that all OBCs are the same, that is coming down. And I see in all this that with the urbanization of India, just as we are seeing in Maharashtra and Haryana in this election, it is just true that the old feudal system is now literally on its last legs.
Right.
And thus what Rahul Gandhi is doing, as far as my party is concerned, is the right thing. He's bringing in a whole load of new faces who have not yet been tried in elections, but I think that is the way forward.
We haven't mentioned the word Rahul Gandhi yet in the program, and we are already almost an hour into it, which perhaps tells you a lot about this election.
Rajdeep, I'll just like to add a point. I think the biggest failure on the part of the Congress and its allies and all the forces opposing the BJP is that they've proven to be bad students of Indian politics. So the big failure is an intellectual failure. They have forgotten to see how India's electorate has been changing, how India's people have been changing, India's attitudes, India's aspirations. India's view of itself has been changing, because while Indians have changed their view of themselves, many of these parties' leaderships are still frozen in the late 60s or mid 70s. In fact, if you look at the Congress Party in its thinking in the last 5 years has leapfrogged backwards over Rajiv Gandhi's times and Narasimha Rao's times and gone back to the senior Mrs. Gandhi's times.
Okay.
And it's been trying to find the voters where she left them, not realizing that many of those voters have moved on, and those who haven't moved on have leaders of their own. And that is the big intellectual failure, and that's why...
That is the point I'm trying to make, that there isn't an intellectual failure because there's a recognition of this in the younger generation of the Congress, and that is why the nature of those around Rahul Gandhi is so different.
So are you saying that the old guard has to be eliminated? You're conceding that there is a generation of the Congress that has to be eliminated.
It's quite clear that between May and what is now October, in this period, it is clear that old ideas need to be replaced, but I'm very glad to say that the need for replacing the old ideas and bringing in new ideas has been recognized by the younger generation of the Congress.
We are going to have to see whether the older generation is willing to...
Let them come into their own.
We are going to have to see whether the older generation...
Please let me finish.
Yes, go ahead.
And let them come into their own, and you'll see the difference, which is why I disagree with your description of these things as tectonic changes, because a tectonic change requires a tectonic change to change. And this is not a tectonic change. It is an indication of new trends in the Indian polity, and one that we have cottoned on to already, and therefore our comeback is going to be sooner than later.
Okay, let me just get in a reaction from Prakash Javadekar of the BJP. The BJP is giving its first reactions to these early trends which are emerging. He's going to speak to us in a moment from now. We'll get in Prakash Javadekar. But yes, Ashok Lahiri, you wanted to make a quick point.
I just want to make the point that Congress is now fighting, like in the Lok Sabha where it wanted the leader of the opposition post. I don't even know whether in Haryana and Maharashtra it can be the major opposition party. But having said that, I must say it's a bit premature to write the obituary of the Congress party. Congress has seen it's a very old party. Chittaranjan Das left.
Can I just interrupt you for a moment to just bring a bit of excitement to our viewers? As of now, because Maharashtra has some excitement, if I looked at the numbers, I have 192 leads. The BJP leads in exactly half, 96. But if you add all the others, they are also coming to 96. Interestingly, you're right. both the opposition and the government in power will be saffron if these trends continue. The Shiv Sena leading in 44 and the BJP in 96. Congress in 28, NCP now leading in 20. The MNS of Raj Thackeray is getting completely wiped out. They are leading in just one. That's another story there, Surjit. Yeah. Because, you know, here is Raj Thackeray, gets a lot of space on television, but is leading in one seat at the moment. What does that suggest? You know, this old Marathi Manos and regional identity cards no longer play, it appears.
Well, joining what, you know, both Shekhar said, Mani said, etc., that this is against, or this is for urbanization leads to a certain view. Apart from the regional politics, the reason I made the point about the Congress is that it's also a vote, I see, continuing from May, against dynasty politics. And that's the biggest disadvantage that the Congress has in the form of Rahul Gandhi. If I could buy the notion that the Congress can revive itself, but to the extent that the elections are being against dynasty, against feudal politics, Congress stands to lose a tremendous amount.
Okay, just a minute.
And therefore the same story with the Shiv Sena, I'm making a consistent story, so I'm not making it up as I go along. The same story with the Shiv Sena, the same story with Pawar. What you're seeing is that the old feudal dynastic order has seen its last days.
Can I just ask Sudhindra Kulkarni, is it just about dynasty or about regional, you know, the old politics of Marathi Manus? You've got the parties of the Marathi Manus, yes, the Shiv Sena leading in 45, but the MNS in just one. In Mumbai city as well, which is the heartland in a sense of this kind of politics. If I look at the results at the moment, it shows that, you know, the trends do suggest that the BJP is doing just as well as the Shiv Sena. BJP leading 21 in Mumbai, the Shiv Sena in 10. In fact, the BJP is 2-1 to the Shiv Sena in Mumbai Thane. What does that suggest to you, Sudhindra Kulkarni? Is that kind of regional politics that the Shiv Sena and MNS represented also on its last legs?
This is a very hopeful development in Maharashtra and in Mumbai. It shows that not only the caste factor is weakening, which of course is very good for not only Maharashtra but the entire country, but in Maharashtra and Mumbai in particular, even linguistic, you know, narrow-minded linguistic appeal is not making an impact on Marathi voters. The young generation of Marathi speaking people, including those, you know, whose parents are strong supporters of the Shiv Sena, they are no longer with the Shiv Sena.
Are you saying it's a generational issue? You're making an interesting point, Sudhindra. Are you saying that the younger voter in particular
they want better governance,
is less inclined to
they
this
want
Marathi
faster development so that their, you know, their aspirations for jobs, for livelihoods, for better living, you know, these aspirations are fulfilled. And the Shiv Sena, you know, Shiv Sena is performed so badly whenever it had an opportunity. Just look at the very poor governance of the municipal corporation in Mumbai. The Shiv Sena and the BJP have been in power at the, you know, at the local level, and it's abysmal governance. So even the traditional support of the Shiv Sena are no longer attracted by this Marathi Manus and Marathi Asmita alone.
Okay, you know, that's an interesting observation you're making. Let me try and get in one BJP reaction before we take a break at the top of the hour. Prakash Javadekar, as we've been saying, has been speaking to our correspondent Smita Sharma. Let's listen into Mr. Javadekar. He's not in the race for Chief Minister, so he'll be happy as Information and Broadcasting and Environment Minister. Lots of other contenders, I can tell you, to be the Chief Minister of the BJP, which is clearly now heading towards single largest and possibly a majority in Maharashtra. Listen in.
It's a super Sunday out here, and will it be a pre-Diwali bonanza for the BJP is something we are looking at. Those electoral battle results coming out slowly, steadily for Maharashtra and Haryana. Joining me here early in the morning, after an early morning walk, in fact, the Union Minister, Mr. Prakash Javadekar, seasoned BJP leader. Mr. Javadekar, you seem to be in good spirits, clearly, after that walk. What are you expecting today from the results?
Definitely, we expect very good results from both the state, because this is the changing reality of Indian politics. The changing reality is that the poor of this country wants progress, good governance and honest leadership. And they are voting for that. I can vouch for that. How many seats ultimately we'll get, will be clear within the next 2-3 hours. But I can tell you that it's a huge shift in the mindset of the voters, and those parties which do not have realized it.
Do you think it is a tectonic shift perhaps? So do you think this will be like a clean sweep for the BJP, or we will see the Shiv Sena and perhaps the INLD in Haryana actually managing to bag a few seats?
No, I really don't want to comment on numbers right now, but we are heading for a good governance, and because people expect that, that's a shift the politics has made for.
Okay, so the BJP now preparing, it seems, for their Super Sunday. We are told that the mithai is already out at the BJP headquarters. Haryana, Shekhar state, known for its mithai. Maharashtra, we'll see how they celebrate, but it appears at the moment BJP has crossed 100 in Maharashtra and could be, at least in terms of leads, even though the opposition coming together, maybe the BJP will just scrape over the halfway mark. But Haryana is turning out to be a virtual wipeout for the other parties. BJP heading to a conclusive majority in Haryana. Quick last point before I take a break.
I just want to alert you to one thing, that don't write the obituary of either the Congress or dynastic politics. See, many dynasties were involved. You can see one dynasty is still doing well, that is INLD. So we must distinguish between feudalism and dynasty. Even we saw father and son becoming president of the United States. United States is definitely not a feudal society. Similarly, sugar barons in western Maharashtra don't write their obituary.
Okay.
Because we have seen parties being written off and coming back.
One second. As a statistician, Ashok, you'll appreciate when 90%, you point to one exception, two exceptions, but 90% are losing out. That is what a statistician does. He doesn't bring out one exception and say, don't write it off.